All right, everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a good time wherever you are. Today we're going to be talking about how to build a Carolina rig on your surf fishing setup or even shore fishing setup depending on the beach you're fishing on. You're going to need a hook of your preferred size, some barrel swivels, and then a 1/4 to 1/2 ounce weight, in addition to some monofilament or fluorocarbon depending on what your preference is. Today, just for demonstration's sake, and this is kind of what I usually do, we're just going to use a tag of our main line, but those ingredients are gonna get you there. So let's get started. So right here we have a size 6 owner mosquito hook, pretty large, kind of helpful for the demonstration. And we are simply going to tie it onto our main line. Now you might be thinking, what main line hook? We'll get there, just hang tight. Something that you should remember about these hooks is that you don't want any kind of twist in it. So some hooks come with this offset. You don't want those offset hooks just because of all that drag in the surf. It's going to cause your hook to twist like a propeller. And once it twists, you get all these ties in your line. Once your line starts to twist, you can see it starting to bow there. And when it does that on the large scale over and over and over again, it's gonna cause these crazy little knots. You don't want that. Okay, so we're gonna do our clinch knot. We have the eyelet of the swivel there. We're just gonna feed it through there. Oh, easier said than done. Now once we're through, we're gonna pull about 3 or 4 inches through. Now we're gonna take this, hold it still with your index and thumb. That's my right hand over here. So hold it like that. And then with my middle and ring fingers on that same hand, I like to grab it and twist it like so. So just handing it off to one another. And once we have about to where you have about 7 of these little notches here. So 7 times through the hole that you started with. And now you have another hole. So you're just going to go through that larger hole like that. Now you're going to wet it just a little spit, so that way it doesn't cause unnecessary friction as you go to cinch that knot. And you can even hold the tag end with your teeth like this as you cinch it down, and that saliva will kind of get it to prevent any burns in the line. And then you can go ahead and remove that tag end. Make sure you keep your trash from falling on the floor. You don't want to add to those microplastics. Cool, so now that we have that hook on our line, we're going to take about 2 feet and just cut it away. We're gonna save this for later. Our next ingredient are going to be our barrel swivels. Now fishing in Southern California, we don't have huge fish, so you don't need the largest barrel swivel. As a matter of fact, I recommend something smaller so it doesn't add extra weight. There's a little barrel swivel there. So we're gonna take that leader that we just made. So we have our 2-foot leader with our hook at the end. And depending on the surf that day, if it's really, really large surf, you want a short leader to make sure that it doesn't get jumbled around as much. And if it's not too large a surf, you can leave it long, so that way more shy, spooky fish don't see that weight and swivel. Today it's kind of larger, so we're gonna bring it down to about 1.5 feet. Just about there. That same old improved clinch knot. Hold the swivel still because it's gonna want to twist. It looks to be a little barrel there, so another name for this knot is the barrel knot. If you want to get close on that, you can see that little vertical barrel. That's a perfect little improved clinch or barrel knot. And remember to cut your tag ends like that. Make sure it doesn't end up on the floor. So we got that set up, about 1.5 feet long. Now we're gonna hold on to that, grab our main line. So our line connected to our rod. Because the surf is a little bit larger, we're gonna fish 1/2 ounce. If it was larger yet, we'd go 3/4 or even 1 ounce. But 1/2 ounce is a good starting point. 1/4 ounce if you were fishing really shallow and really, really small surf day. We're gonna fish 2 of these 1/4 ounces to make 1/2. And then this is optional and sometimes necessary depending on your swivel size. Now we got our bead here. The bead's going to go on, so it's between the weights and the barrel swivel. Now it's not necessary most of the time, but it does prevent your weights from pounding into your knot, and eventually that might cut and wear away at that knot and make it weaker. But in addition to that, sometimes the hole on your egg sinker might be too large for those barrel swivels. It might slip over. So to prevent that, you would put a bead. I like fishing it, especially when we're fishing for perch and croaker. It seems like it might even add some attracting power. But regardless, we got our 2 weights and our bead there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add our leader with our hook, 1.5 foot leader and barrel swivel that we made earlier to our main line. Just like that. gonna do our good old trusty proof clinch knot. Cool. Now we're just gonna do the same thing that we've been doing, trimming our tag ends, making sure they don't end up on the floor. We have our finished product. So our Carolina rig, starting with our 1 ounce of weight, bead, barrel swivel, 1.5 to 2 feet of leader, and our straight, not twisted hook. Short shank, usually owner mosquito is what I like to use. You guys got any questions on that, feel free to shoot them in the comment section. I can add or respond to any of those, or even make another video. But now that we have it here made in the parking lot, we are going to go ahead, jump on the water, give it a test run, and see how it does. Okay, I'm probably gonna have to reshoot this, but first thing in the morning, we got our Carolina rig here. So it's got our weight, bead, swivel. We have a pretty long leader today, like a 3-foot leader, to our little camo sandworm by Berkeley Gulp. I think JP's fishing the same thing. Yep. A little shorter leader. And yeah, we're just gonna do this kind of sweeping method. All I'm doing is kind of a quarter turn with my body. Just like that, keeping tension on that rod tip and then winding it back, keeping it taut the whole time. And once it's moved a little farther down the beach, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing again. Essentially just covering ground really, really slow, like keeping contact with the bottom. And then once we find that hole of fish, they'll let us know by giving us a little bite. And once we get a bite, we'll kind of leave it there and let it kind of settle in that zone. Look, 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 look. Every time in this hole, every cast, but none of them are connecting. I don't know what it is. Here, messing my sandworm up. All right, check this trick out. So we keep getting bit on this size bait with no connection. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break off this first chunk of it. So it's a smaller bait now. It went from a 2.5 inch bait to a 2-inch bait. We're gonna do the same thing. These baits are simply just a profile, color, and scent orientation. So manipulating its size won't really alter the action all that much. Boom. All right, it's on there. Little bait now. So you guys can see, smaller bait. Now the sun's coming up, I can kind of see what's going on in the water. Right between me and the whitewash right now, there's a drop-off trough, and I think that's where all these little fish are sitting. We're gonna fish that hole until we have a larger one come through and commit. All right, so the smaller bait didn't help us. Let's try switching to a smaller hook. All right, we went ahead and swapped hook sizes. So we went from a size 4 owner mosquito to a size 6 Gamakatsu bait holder. So we're gonna try this guy out, see if we can have some more luck with the smaller hook. I noticed that a lot of these strikes are really, really, really small little taps. So maybe it's smaller fish, maybe it's more finicky fish, maybe it's a different species of fish that has a slightly lighter bite. So in addition to the small weight, remember when we did the introduction, we showed you guys to put on a 1/2 ounce weight. So now we're using a 1/4 ounce. We've also downsized the hook from a 4 to a 6. And in addition to both of those, we've went ahead and shrunk the bait up as well. So we're just reducing all the presentation, all the size points. However, our swivel and our leader length have stayed the same. We kept the long leader because we have really, really calm surf, so we don't have to worry about keeping that bait close to the bottom. It's gonna do that on its own. So we're gonna let it flow kind of naturally with the longer leader. Oh, there's our fishy friends. Just in time for a smaller hook. Oh yeah, not a bad fish. Not a bad fish. Finally connecting with these things. I say not a bad fish, but it's definitely gonna be small. But just reducing that hook size seemed to help us out. So we actually connected with this fish now. What do we got? Little something, little something. Little perch, probably, and there it is. Just like that. And we're before we handle them, especially because it's one of these little guys and we want to make sure it gets off a-okay. We're gonna wet our hands, but look at that cutie patootie, tiniest little perch you've ever seen. So sweet. Okay, cool. So that smaller hook size, that was just the clearance we needed. Anyways, we're gonna get him in. Oh, he got a little nip on his fin, probably roughhousing with the other ones. There you go. Gotta make sure he goes the right way. Keep an eye on him for a sec. Oh, I think he made it. He's gone. There's a bite. There's a bite. Got him. 2 casts in a row. Probably even smaller than the last one. Come here, little guy. Yep, little perch. Some of you guys might be newer to fishing and might be thinking, oh, that's got to be the same one, but it's probably not, because usually fish get a little shocked right after they get caught, so they won't eat for just a little bit. But also this one's got a perfectly intact tail. Remember that last one had some fray marks right here. So there's probably a school of little guys roughhousing out there, a little territorial and whatnot. So there he goes, just like that. With the surf perch, you want to make sure you get them out into a little bit deeper water. Sometimes they can get stuck on their side in beach, and you won't even notice because they'll get drifted down by the time they're on the sand again. So you want to kind of, sometimes the perch, I like to give them a little gentle underhand toss, not too rough. You don't want to slough off that slime coat or scales, but just enough to get them in a little bit deeper. 2 casts, 2 fish now with the downsized hook. Let's keep going. Let's see if we can get a larger one. The reason I'm holding this rod all weird right now with my left hand is because my right hand is so cold. California chili. Uh-oh. That's number 3, baby. That's number 3. This one actually feels smaller than the previous ones. I really hope that's not the case. I hope I just missed it and there's nothing on here, because that would be way worse. But I feel shaking and I'm really concerned. What's going on? Ah, it's a tiny one. Oh, actually it's debatably fatter than the previous ones. He was just coming in. That's 3 for 3. Actually 4 for 4. I caught a JP on the last cast. Whee! Come on, guys. I need a good bite out of you. Otherwise, I'm not going to set that hook again. Oh, we might have just missed them that time. Too bad. They're so shallow. It's so cool. These little fish, they're able to come up so much shallower because of their body size. This cast, I'm not even going to cast as long. I'm going to cast it about half the distance. Boop. Right there in the money. We've been getting bit up all this time. I'm really just gonna let it sit. I'm gonna let it do its thing. Matter of fact, I'm gonna open the bail, give it some slack, let it chill for a moment, let the fish find it, let it catch the waves, ride the current. In the winter, a lot of our inverts, like our bivalves, so mussels, clams, will orient towards the rocks. Not sure if it's because it's warmer with the sunlight hitting the dark rocks, or if it's just good shelter from the winter swell. So you even find sand crabs like holed up right next to the rock. Now, that being said, it looks like there's a prominent north swell coming up. I'd assume it's kicking up this zone right next to the rocks real hard. Oh, that's a bite. That's a bite. Gotcha. Hold on, I'll finish my point in a moment. Oh no, I lost him. Oh hell yeah, my bait's all chewed up. So yeah, bait gets knocked loose and tossed up here, and then you can see as it flows out, there's this little side funnel. It gets caught in this pool, so it comes up the groin or up the jetty, knocks all the food loose. As it enters the ocean, it goes sideways, and there's just probably this big feeding ground for all these undersized fish right in front of me. Let's see if we can get 1 or 2 more before we wrap up today. This time I'm gonna thread this worm to where the hook comes out the butt, so that way we can avoid more short strikes. In theory, let's actually try it and see if that'll be the case. Halfway in each cast, I retrieve. There they go. Got him. Right on up with the waves. Let that hand a little bit. Boom. Just like that. Another cute little perch out in a little deeper water, and he's good to go. So it seems like that tail hook kind of helped with that short strike. That was like the first bite that I got, and it seemed to, second bite I got on that retrieve, on that cast, and it seemed to connect pretty well. So we'll keep doing that with this short strike. I'm trying to teach you guys something, and then I'm learning. Isn't that neat? That's why fishing is pretty darn cool, in my opinion. Another one. So this is a, oh, just popped himself off right there. I was just gonna say, this is a good example of like a decent little numbers bite. I mean, we don't have the size we want, but the numbers are certainly there. If we really put our mind to it, we could probably make one happen each cast. Gotcha. That one set himself. Sometimes they'll grab it and swim directly against your line, directly the other way, and that'll kind of bury that hook without you really having to set it much. But oh, there he goes. Just set himself off. Quick release fish out here today. Yeah, so in those instances you can kind of wind down on them, kind of that'll bury the hook, but I like to give it a little jam just to make sure it's in there. And sometimes when you get that hook in their mouth, it's working against harder tissues, or trying to make its way around a jawbone, or even like a deeper cheek meat spot. So if you kind of give it a little jam, it'll break its way, puncture, and hold on to that fish a little more secured. And then when you get it in, you can pop it right out. All right, so that wraps up the end of that. But just as some parting notes, you guys saw us fish, set up and fish that Carolina rig. So that Carolina rig, again, is just that egg sinker to a swivel or bead and swivel, your leader, which can vary from like a foot to 3 feet, and then your little hook. So today you saw us set that up. In addition to that, we had to make modifications on site to make sure that we could keep up with what we were fishing for. So as you guys saw, we were catching smaller grade perch, and they weren't the best fish. However, it did make for a nice example video for what you would do, how you would fish it, how you would adjust parameters on that Carolina rig. So we went ahead and made those adjustments, and we were actually able to start locking into that bite and really capitalize on those fish. Despite being smaller fish, we actually got a good number of them, and JP even managed to pull a little bit better of one. So as we get closer to the spring season, we start to see more and more larger fish. We're going to do the same approach, and it works just as well for larger fish. And you guys are more than welcome to try the same method at home. So yeah, if you like this and you found it helpful, drop a like, leave a comment if you'd like, and you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.
Woo!